Brian Stelter is out at CNN.
Strike three, you're out of there. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo.
Guest journalistic lack of integrity and, ironically, his initials of BS finally caught up with him.
Oh, my God. I mean, that is a horror movie cover. Seriously, he is scarier looking than It the Clown.
Adios, BS. We'll miss you.
Disproving viral tweets is different than debunking a TV ad. Combating meme makers is different than rebutting newspaper columnists. And the memes are pretty powerful sometimes.
Bringing you It's Ignored, Sensationalized, Misleading, or just plain false, here's your media malfeasance for the week. The FBI raid of Mar-a-Lago continues to dominate the news after AG Merrick Garland asked for the search warrant to be unsealed and Trump called his bluff and essentially said, bring it on. Suddenly, the DOJ backpedaled this week and asked the judge to keep the search warrant affidavit sealed. A hearing was held on Thursday with the same judge who authorized the search, ruling that some of the DOJ's affidavit used to obtain the search warrant can be unsealed. Judge Reinhart, who recused himself from a Trump versus Hillary lawsuit citing impartiality issues, is giving the government a week to show him the proposed redactions, according to NBC. Now, since we still can't see the search warrant affidavit, we still can't assess if the FBI truly had probable cause for the raid. MSM has backed off speculating about possession of nuclear codes, which never made much sense, while alternative media has cried witch hunt and accused the warrant of being overly broad, raising constitutionality concerns. Donald Trump said on Truth Social, wow, during the FBI raid on Mar-a-Lago, they stole 3 of my passports, 1 of them expired, and several other things. Norah O'Donnell was quick to tweet, according to a DOJ official, the FBI is not in possession of former President Trump's passports, then seemed to contradict herself with another tweet. If any items not contained in the warrant were retrieved during the FBI search at Mar-a-Lago, they will be returned. John Solomon of Just the News was able to confirm Trump's passports were taken, among many other things, and that, quote, DOJ has designated a process for separating materials that could be covered by executive privilege or attorney-client privilege and hopes to return such memos to Trump within a couple of weeks. Kevin Brock, who served as FBI Assistant Director for Intelligence under former Director Robert Mueller, said the new revelations raise legitimate questions about over-collection of evidence that could lead to significant legal challenges. Precedent could also bolster legal challenges against the Justice Department. Tom Fitton of Judicial Watch describes an old case concerning audio tapes in Bill Clinton's sock drawer.
Taylor Branch had done a book on Clinton, you may recall, and he recorded some of his conversations with him for the book, and Clinton kept copies of, I think it was more than one tape, but the tapes included at least his half of the conversation with foreign leaders, members of Congress, and other government officials. So we saw that and we said, hey, what about the Presidential Records Act? Aren't these in the library? Because we had been litigating against the library for probably 15 years at that point.
Right.
And so we sued the archives, and they came back to us and they told us, go pound sand.
Senator Rand Paul weighs in.
Well, I think the burden is on the FBI to justify this raid. This is extraordinary. This is also the same FBI that used a foreign intelligence warrant to snoop on and spy on the Trump campaign, to investigate them for over 2 years. So I think the burden really is on the FBI. They've been wrong in the past. They've broken the law in using these foreign intelligence warrants. Now they use a domestic warrant, but I do think they need to release the justification for this, because this is extraordinary, and we should not lose sight of the fact this has never, ever happened before.
Since the raid on Trump, the FBI has come under scrutiny for its history of weaponization against dissent. It responds with a threat assessment. The FBI and DHS joint intelligence memo obtained by The Intercept warns of the potential for domestic violent extremists to carry out attacks in reaction to the FBI's recent execution of a court-authorized search warrant in Palm Beach, Florida. Becker News points out the Joint Intelligence Bulletin also references a June 7th National Terrorism Advisory Bulletin warning of domestic extremists who have expressed grievances to the false perception that the U.S. government is not working to maintain security along the U.S.-Mexico border. False assumption, border not secure? What's going on here?
Fox News was down there, and we witnessed the National Guard blocking this gate at the border on private property at a major crossing area in Eagle Pass to deny the illegals to come into or further into the U.S. Then Fox News witnesses the Border Patrol agents come along with a key. They open the gate to illegals that are standing outside of the gate and allow them to go through for processing. all with the Texas National Guard just standing there watching.
Of course, Greg Abbott not very happy about this.
Former VP Mike Pence also had some strong words for those criticizing the FBI.
But more than anything else, the American people need to be reassured in the integrity of our justice system.
Reassured in the integrity of our justice system? How do our Olympic gymnasts feel about the integrity of the FBI? MSNBC says the, quote, insurrection plans were published, but the FBI ignored them. Newsweek says Parler warned the FBI 50 times, but took no action. New York Times, among those who marched into the Capitol January 6, an FBI informant. 20 federal assets embedded at Capitol on January 6, defense attorney claims, according to the Epoch Times. The Hill, men accused of Whitmer kidnapping plot, say FBI set them up. BuzzFeed, the FBI allegedly used at least 12 informants in the Michigan kidnapping case. But do not question the FBI. Just how many shootings has the FBI been warned about in advance, yet took no action? From CNN, the FBI was warned about the Parkland, Florida shooter 5 months before the school shooting occurred. OPB, FBI confirms agents knew of alleged Normandale Park shooter months before that shooting occurred. A warning a year in advance didn't stop a shooting at an Indianapolis FedEx last year, according to The Hill. Boston Herald, FBI whiffs again on Colorado mass shooting suspect. USA Today, the biggest terrorism case of the year, collapsed largely thanks to FBI misconduct and deceit, in reference to the Pulse nightclub shooting. CBS News, report shows FBI ignored accused Fort Hood shooter Nidal Hassan out of political correctness. Boston Magazine, FBI admits it missed opportunities to stop Boston Marathon bombing. But make sure you don't criticize the FBI. CNN, FBI and California sheriff illegally seized marijuana cash belonging to licensed dispensaries, lawsuit claims. FBI used provocative photos of female office staff to catch sexual predators, according to CNN. The list goes on, particularly in the Bureau's obsession with our former president. Politico, ex-FBI lawyer spared prison for altering Trump-Russia probe email. New York Post, text revealed disgraced FBI agent told lover will stop Trump. Yet the FBI hasn't gotten anywhere on Epstein's sex trafficking clients or done anything about evidence on Hunter Biden's laptop they falsely claimed was Russian disinfo and tried to tuck away. But don't you dare suggest the FBI has become a worthless, politicized, elitist bureau. Speaking of elitist, despite support from Democrats and the media, Liz Cheney loses her primary.
The great and original champion of our party, Abraham Lincoln, was defeated in elections for the Senate and the House before he won the most important election of all. Lincoln ultimately prevailed, he saved our Union, and he defined our obligation as Americans for all of history.
Yes, she compared herself to Abraham Lincoln. Lauren Bobart tweets, Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves from the Democrats. He didn't become a slave to the Democrats. And finally, after updating its guidelines on COVID, repeating what many who were censored were advising for the past couple of years, Walensky, citing botched pandemic response, calls for CDC reorganization, according to the New York Times.
What I would suggest, if they want to reorganize, is humility. I think they need to step back and get back into the advice game, not the mandate game.
Walensky says, to be frank, we are responsible for some pretty dramatic, pretty public mistakes, from testing to data to communications. Thomas Massey tweets, CDC lost credibility by denying natural immunity, claiming shots prevent spread, suppressing possible therapies, ignoring vaccine injured, treating all groups as same risk, flip-flopping on masks, lying to Congress, fabricating studies. But have we even truly begun to see the major fallout? Martin Koldorf tweets, now that the CDC has finally admitted that there is natural immunity after COVID infection, all unions should demand the reinstatement with back pay for unvaccinated employees that were fired. In fact, healthcare workers in Illinois who were fired over vaccine mandate have been awarded $10 million in a settlement. But beware, Tony Fauci says he wishes there would have been even more stringent restrictions than what we all experienced.
There would have been much, much more stringent restrictions, in the sense of very, very heavy, encouraging people to wear masks, physical distancing, or what have you.
Time will tell what Walensky really means by a CDC reorganization. For KLIM.News, I'm Christy Lee.